This guy was broke, invisible, and going nowhere in life. Then he found a drug that makes your brain 100% active. In days, he's making millions. But there's one deadly side effect nobody warned him about. Eddie is a writer, but lately his life is truly falling apart. He struggles to write. Inspiration is nowhere to be found. He just goes to the bar and gets drunk every night. A few months pass without him writing a single word. Even his girlfriend decides to leave him, unwilling to carry him through life. As he walks home, feeling bad about himself in general, he comes across his ex-brother-in-law Vernon. After a little chit-chat, where they both lie to each other a bit about what they're doing, Vernon convinces him to have a drink together. They go to a bar and start talking about Eddie's writing problems and how he can't seem to find any inspiration. Vernon suggests he can help him. He shows him the drug he's selling. It's some kind of experimental designer drug that supposedly lets you access your whole brain. Eddie is suspicious about the pill, so before leaving, Vernon gives him his business card and a sample of the expensive drug for free. Feeling like he has nothing to lose, Eddie decides to take it. He walks into his building and immediately runs into his landlord's wife Valerie, who hates him. As she starts yelling at him, Eddie wonders about the effects of the drug as it starts to kick in. Suddenly, he starts noticing even the smallest details he previously missed. The little things all around him, the subtle details about her. By her tone and behavior, he realizes she's just angry because of her problems at school. He starts asking her about her studies as he begins accessing different memories in his mind that he didn't even know he had. He offers to help with her essay, and she slowly starts warming up to him. And when the essay is done, Eddie pays for his rent. As he gets back to his apartment, he realizes how filthy and disgusting it is. So Eddie starts cleaning and fixing it up, putting everything in its place, until it looks like a place someone would actually live in. The drug has made his mind and thoughts perfectly clear, so he immediately gets back to writing. And this time, he's filled with inspiration. It feels like the words are assembling themselves. The next morning, Eddie wakes up and realizes the drug has completely worn off. The good news is, he still has the pages he wrote yesterday, so he goes to see his publisher. Eddie asks her to read the unfinished manuscript and promises to return with a revised version if she doesn't like it. As soon as he gets home, he has 3 new messages from her, saying what she read was brilliant. Eddie almost immediately goes to see Vernon. When Vernon opens the door, he looks like someone just beat him up. He instantly knows why Eddie is here and tells him he'll give him more of the drug. But first, he has to run some errands for him. Eddie goes to pick up Vernon's dry cleaning and grab some breakfast. But when he returns, he finds the apartment door open. The place is completely ransacked, and Vernon is lying on the couch. As Eddie walks closer, he realizes Vernon is dead. He immediately calls the police and waits for them to arrive. He concludes that whoever did this was looking for the drugs, but never found them. So he starts searching himself. He goes through the entire apartment and eventually finds the drugs hidden inside the oven. He also finds Vernon's black book and some money, just as he hides everything in his pants. The police burst through the door. Later, he's being questioned at the police station, but the detective is suspicious of Eddie and his story. Vernon's sister, Eddie's ex-wife, calls the detective's desk and asks to speak to Eddie. She tells him she doesn't want him at Vernon's funeral and that she'll call him when it's all over. The police eventually let him go. On his way home, he's paranoid he's being followed. Once he gets home, Eddie counts the money and takes 1 pill. It kicks off a montage of him completely rediscovering himself and the power of the drug. First, he gets a haircut and new clothes. He finishes his novel and delivers it to his publisher. He learns to play the piano in just 3 days. And also learns new languages with little effort, then uses them to pick up women. He easily calculates and uses math to win at poker. He knows exactly what combination of drugs his aunt with cancer needs. He starts talking business with some of the richest people and impresses everyone with his intellect. Even gets an offer to work for one of them. Eddie quickly makes new friends, rich ones with private jets and poolside mansions he goes on vacation with. But he starts getting reckless, and his body needs more and more adrenaline rushes. At one point, he has an epiphany about what he needs to do, and it's not writing. We see him back at his apartment, looking at trading numbers while taking the drug. He needs money for what he wants to do, and investing isn't enough. So he turns to a Russian criminal authority, Gennady. He convinces him to give him $100,000. They meet at a park, and Gennady reminds him what will happen if he doesn't return the money. Eddie also takes the job offer he got earlier and quickly figures out how to double his money through investments. He starts getting noticed by bigger players in the finance world and gets a meeting with one of them. He goes to dinner with his ex-girlfriend Lindy and uses his newfound charm, trying to win her back. They get back together as she decides to give him another chance. Time goes by and he becomes more successful. But Eddie starts feeling like he's being followed. One night, while he's in his apartment with his girlfriend, he starts to feel a little strange. The next day, he and his new boss have a lunch meeting with Carl, a powerful billionaire businessman and corporate magnate. Eddie explains his grand pattern recognition abilities and tries to impress him. Carl offers him a ride home, and in the car he hands him some documents, telling him to look them over. Before they even reach his place, Eddie gives him a full evaluation of what he read. The man is impressed and sets up another meeting with him. Eddie is too energized to go home, so he takes a walk while planning his future, even thinking about becoming president one day. Suddenly, he starts feeling strange again, like time is moving differently. As he walks and walks, he suddenly ends up at a bar, unaware of how he got there. Then he's at a party with one girl, and next in a hotel with another, still feeling like someone is following him. Unexpectedly, he finds himself in the middle of a fight with a group of men. His body knows exactly how to fight and react, just from watching Bruce Lee on TV. He runs through the city, and suddenly ends up on top of a bridge. He stops, unable to remember the last 18 hours of his life. Eddie wakes up the next day feeling horrible. He decides to skip the drug, and tries to go through the documents Carl sent him, but he can't understand anything. Eddie goes to the meeting sober and unprepared. Carl keeps asking him questions, expecting high-level answers, but all Eddie can focus on is the TV, where the news is reporting that the woman he was with in the hotel is dead. Feeling sick, he abruptly leaves the meeting. When he gets home, his phone rings. It's his ex-wife, and he asks her to meet him later that day. Eddie remembers Vernon's black book and starts calling the people from the list, but quickly finds out that everyone on it is either dead or terribly sick. The last number on the list belongs to the man who's been following him, and now he's sitting on the bench right next to Eddie. Eddie sees him and runs. As the man immediately gives chase, he finally loses him by jumping into a cab. He meets his ex-wife Melissa, who admits she was also on the drug, and barely made it out alive when she stopped using it. She notices Eddie has been taking it too, and tells him to taper off slowly, otherwise it could be lethal. Eddie keeps feeling worse and worse as he returns home, where Gennady is waiting for him. He takes Eddie's last pill and swallows it, while Eddie goes to the bank to grab the money he owes him. When Eddie gives him the money, Gennady says he feels great, but there are no noticeable changes in his intelligence. Later, Eddie goes to his girlfriend's office. He admits everything to her and asks her to retrieve the drugs he's hidden in her apartment. She goes there and finds them easily, but on her way back, she calls Eddie and says a man is following her. Her cab is stuck in traffic as the man gets closer. She panics and runs. The man chases her through the street. She reaches a park and asks two guys for help, but the man walks up and immediately stabs them both as she escapes again. She quickly calls Eddie, terrified and trapped. Eddie tells her to take one pill and she'll know what to do, and she does it. Now thinking clearly, she easily escapes the man. She returns to Eddie and gives him a pill, and they check into a hotel together. The following morning, Lindy is getting ready to leave. Eddie tries to convince her he'll get back on track, but after taking the drug herself, she disagrees. He promises he'll eventually quit, but she leaves anyway. Eddie sees Gennady waiting for him again and walks over. Gennady wants more of the drug, so Eddie gives him a few pills to keep him satisfied. Later, Eddie hires two bodyguards who follow him everywhere, and he goes to see Carl. He apologizes for the meeting, explaining he was sick, but Carl had already been won over, so he still gives Eddie the job. Eddie brokers the biggest merger in history for Carl and gets back on his feet, realizing he'll eventually run out of the drug. He goes to a chemist and offers him $2 million to recreate it within 6 months. While Eddie is having lunch one day, he's approached by the detective, who tells him he's been identified as the man running out of the hotel where the young woman was killed. Eddie is arrested, but he's quickly released after hiring a top lawyer to bail him out. Later, he's at a major merger meeting with Carl. When he notices one of the men from the opposing side is sick, they agree to reconvene and sign the contract the next day. When Eddie returns to the hotel, he finds his room trashed, so he buys the most luxurious apartment he can find. Later, he runs into Gennady, who is completely transformed. He tells Eddie to bring him more of the pills, threatening to expose his legal trouble to his boss. The next day, Carl and Eddie are waiting for the man to arrive and sign the contract. But his wife shows up instead, saying her husband is very sick, but once he recovers, he will sign. They walk her out, and as she gets into the car, Eddie notices the man who's been following him getting in with her. Realizing her husband is sick because of the drug, Eddie meets his lawyer at the police station and takes part in a lineup, but he isn't identified. He leaves Gennady waiting and goes straight back to Carl's office instead. Eddie realizes he needs another pill and leaves to find his stash, but it's gone. He returns to the office when a package arrives for him. As Carl keeps asking him questions, Eddie opens it, only to find the severed hands of his bodyguards inside. He rushes out and goes back to his apartment, where he hears news reports about Carl's company and the merger being exposed as a lie. His lawyer takes over the interview, and it turns out to be Eddie's own lawyer. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's Gennady with a group of men. Next, Eddie is standing on the edge of his balcony, thinking about jumping, seeing no way out. But then he remembers where he might have left one last pill. Just as he's about to take it, Gennady breaks in, and Eddie drops the pill. His men grab him and sit him down, while Gennady explains he's been using the drug dissolved and injected into a vein. He orders his men to find Eddie's stash, while he tortures Eddie for information. As they try to open the safe, they don't notice Eddie stabbing Gennady when he leans in. He kills him, then uses his blood as a desperate fix of the drug. It works. The drug kicks in, and Eddie easily takes down the two men. Meanwhile, the man who was supposed to sign the contract dies in the hospital. Eddie goes there and ends up sitting next to the man who's been following him. Later, that same man helps him find more drugs in his lawyer's apartment. 12 months later, Eddie has published a book and is running for the Senate. Carl is waiting in his office. They talk briefly. When Carl tells him he knows about the drug, he admits he shut down his lab that morning, and he can still supply Eddie, but only if he works for him. Just before getting into a car, Eddie refuses, admitting he's learned how to control the drug, how to stop it while keeping the benefits. He walks away from Carl's offer and sends him off. Eddie walks into a restaurant and meets Lindy there, and that's where the film ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video. Thanks for watching.